This is the Green Card Application Guide, change of status from Canadian TN to U.S. permanent resident through your spouse. In this three-part video series, I would like to detail the Green Card application and hopefully answer your questions about the change of status from TN to U.S. permanent resident process. The information shared in this video was made available to me by USCIS website or representatives and by my immigration lawyer. For this video, I will be focusing on details specifically for my case. I'm a Canadian citizen living in the United States. I was working under a TN1 visa until I met and married my lovely American wife, who kindly sponsored me to become a U.S. permanent resident last year. Now, let's get on to the nitty-gritty. Part 1 of 3, How to Apply. You will need to gather, compile, and mail an application packet. The application packet will consist of 8 separate applications or forms, each of which has a different function. Before I jump into describing the forms, we need to understand the USCIS terminology used for me and my wife. I am applying for the green card, so I am called the applicant or beneficiary. My spouse, my wife in this case, is called the petitioner or sponsor. Now, what needs to go into the application packet? There are 8 applications or forms that you should submit. The first 3 were filled out by my wife, who's the sponsor, including the I-130, the I-130A, and the I-864. I, the applicant, had to fill out the I-131, the I-485, the I-765, the I-693, and the G-1145. For any entry that is not applicable, I wrote N/A as the form instructions directed. Make sure all signatures are made in pen ink. I made the mistake of using digital signatures and realized I had to reprint every signature page to instead manually sign. I'll provide a quick synopsis of each application. The I-130 is a petition for alien relative, which formally requests the petitioner, my wife, to sponsor the applicant, me. The I-130A is a supplemental information for spouse beneficiary, which provides additional information about me, the applicant. I-864, Affidavit of Support, determines the petitioner is capable of and has adequate funding to sponsor the applicant. This is a step USCIS takes to protect the U.S. from a financial burden. The I-131, Application for Travel Document, is intended to request USCIS for a temporary travel permit while your green card application is processing, because without a temporary travel document, you can't leave the U.S. while your application is pending, otherwise you risk abandoning your application. The I-485 application to register permanent residence or adjust status is the green card application, requesting to change immigration status to permanent resident. The I-765 application for employment authorization is to request temporary employment authorization while your green card application is processing. This is important if you're actively working. The I-693 report of medical examination and vaccination record is filled out by you and your physician to report your overall health status and notify USCIS of any specific health concerns. And finally, the G-1145 e-notification of application petition acceptance is optional. This form is intended to allow USCIS to email and text you application status updates. This didn't work for me though, in that the USCIS never sent me mobile or email updates. I had to log into the website to check on application status instead. The forms that I've mentioned ask for much detail, so carefully answer everything fully and honestly. It took me about 2 weeks, with some learning and legal advice in there, to fill everything out. So if you're doing this yourself, then you'll want to certainly allot a decent chunk of time to do it. But hopefully this video will speed things up for you. For all of these forms, supporting evidence and documents will need to be included. So here's an inclusive list of documents that you'll need. 1 copy of your marriage certificate, 1 check made out to Department of Homeland Security in the amount of $1,760 US, which includes the $1,140 application fee and $85 biometrics fee for the I-485 form, and $535 for the I-130 form. Keep in mind that these are the 2019 rates, so please check the latest rates on the USCIS website to make sure you're submitting the correct amount. And then the petitioner must submit one color copy of passport or citizenship certificate, two identical US passport size photos that were taken recently, last year's tax return, which was 2018 for my wife, last year's W-2, some recent pay stubs, and also tax returns from 2017 and 2016, so the prior 2 years. The applicant should include 3 color copies of your passport, 1 color copy of birth certificate, and if necessary, a certified translated copy if it's not in English, 2 color copies of your I-94 card, 2 color copies of your current valid visa, 8 identical US passport size photos, which you should attach to each separate application in the packet, 1 color copy of any old EAD cards, and 1 sealed official doctor's health report, I-693, from a US CIS designated office. Quick note, part 3 of this video series briefs through a few helpful tips for filling the application out, or places that I got stuck. When it came to organizing the application packet, I used folders, binder clips, paper clips, and sticky notes to neatly organize and label each form and document to help USCIS sort through it. The last step is to mail the package to the address listed on the I-485 application instructions. Everything, all 8 forms and requested evidence described earlier, will go to the same address. I recommend paying for tracking so you can confirm receipt at USCIS. That concludes part 1 of the video series, so hopefully that helps clarify what you need to do to apply for your green card. Tune in for part 2 of this video series, which will describe the application timeline and interview stage.